Use your powers for evil.
Evil? Your evil is mine.
Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs, hot on the heels of an actual Cleveland Browns win at long last, as Jesse can hopefully sympathize.
Yes.
But we're not going to talk about football. We're going to talk about some Doctor Who. Today we're going to talk about here in episode 118, the Christmas invasion, and I can't wait to talk about this with my partner in crime and my partner in time, Jesse Jackson.
Yes, I am on the record. David Tennant is my favorite Doctor, though that is in micro inches of when, as you separate the Doctors. This was so good to have this back watching and discuss, and we're 2 weeks away from new Doctor Who.
Yes, we are. We only have 2 more weeks until Series 11 starts. Yes. So probably won't be too hard to figure out what we're going to talk about next time, but we'll talk about that at the end of the show.
Absolutely.
So for right now, we want to dive right in. Now, for those who aren't aware, and I'm not sure, like if you're a big Doctor Who fan, you couldn't be aware of this. Before the Christmas Invasion aired, there was a little mini episode, the very first mini episode of Doctor Who. It was a 7-minute mini episode that aired in 2005. Then it was on as part of the Children in Need benefit special that airs annually in the UK. And some people might refer to this as Born Again. So if you've heard of that title again, you may be familiar with it. But it's written by Russell T Davies, directed by director Eurus Lynn, and it actually kind of sets the stage immediately after the 9th Doctor's regeneration into the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, at the end of The Parting of the Ways. And I thought we could talk about that first before we get into the main story, the Christmas Invasion.
Well, we certainly should, considering we delayed recording so that I could do a quick catch-up.
You're not supposed to tell them that.
Yeah. No, you know me, always telling them how to make the sausage.
That's right.
Yeah,
Little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, but first off, as I was not watching Doctor Who live at this point.
Right.
How did you guys did you have to wait for the DVD set? How did you see this little teaser?
Well, thanks to the miracles of the interwebs, I knew that it was going to happen. And actually watched it way back in 2005, and I think it was YouTube that I watched it, or some variation thereof. I think it was YouTube. Might have been something antique like AOL's video, American Online Video. But somehow I watched it, because thankfully people in the UK were kind enough to copy it and upload it for everybody to check out here across the pond. And I really appreciated it because this gave us our first real good look at David Tennant as the 10th Doctor.
Now, you were still getting, is it the Sci-Fi Channel had Doctor Who at this point?
I want to say they were just about to start airing it because they had aired it pretty late.
Right.
They had, I think they were waiting, like they had heard that it took off in the UK, and I think it was into, if I recall correctly, I could be wrong here, so feel free to correct me, everybody. I think it was into David Tennant's run before they started airing the very first Christopher Eccleston episode.
Because it is.
It might have been after, series 2 before Sci-Fi started airing series 1. Because I remember that we were like here desperate to figure out how to get episodes of Doctor Who at that point here in the States.
Because because of the internet, you had heard there was something good happening.
Yes, and thanks to technology like DivX and whatnot, this is where they were first starting to burn episodes on bootleg DVDs and share them with their friends.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I was watching Doctor Who at that point. Until it got because obviously I was on dial-up still at that point.
Sure.
and that was not exactly the best for watching television over the interwebs at that point.
And then just one more.
When we played with rocks and sticks and whatnot.
One more general comment, and then we'll get to actually discussing the episode. But I think this is amazing that just a short 14 years ago,
right?
There was not a thought that we're making Doctor Who for a worldwide audience. That's just peripheral. I mean, doesn't
it seem odd, especially considering that Doctor Who had developed a U.S. following?
Yeah,
because of classic stories airing on PBS.
Yeah,
but at that point, the BBC hadn't envisioned it as a worldwide show yet.
Right.
It was still at that point, Doctor Who was still kind of like not very well known worldwide.
Right.
It certainly wasn't appearing on the cover of Entertainment Weekly back then.
Yeah. And
so, thankfully, Sci-Fi started airing it, and then that kind of initially got Americans more aware of it, and to the point where eventually it ended up on BBC America, and all was good.
Yeah, and I do think that in a lot of ways, and maybe I'm being overly simple, but this is the franchise that truly birthed BBC America.
Oh yeah, I'd say so because it was there. I mean, at this point, after I want to say after the second season, series 2 of Doctor Who, that it really took off,
right, and
became huge in the UK, and this is what I think. Yeah, just it kind of brought new life, and I think that at that point the BBC saw the potential for exporting it to the States.
And then when you think about it, in a couple of weeks, there is actually going to be they're going to simulcast so that everyone gets the new Doctor Who episode at the same time, and then they'll show it again on the regular time frame on BBC America.
Okay,
that's at least what I've read. Yeah.
So, which means theoretically, if say Doctor Who airs at 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
right?
Presumably, it would be earlier in that afternoon, that Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
I could be watching Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's what I've read that they're going to do, because you notice they haven't given times yet on all the promotions, and the idea is
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, it's about 6 hours, I think, from Dallas to London.
Right. Yeah, because it's 5. The hourly difference is London is 5 hours ahead. England is 5 hours ahead. So you would be 6 hours ahead.
Yeah.
Or London would be 6 hours ahead of you. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, excited. First thing I noticed is I love David Tennant and Christopher Eccleston close. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm glad he didn't
as you
stay
can see,
on
my
that.
my little regeneration action figure here
Yeah.
of David
Yes.
Tennant wearing the leather jacket and dark slacks of the Ninth Doctor.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a very interesting look because to see him in Eccleston's clothes, as it always is to see a new Doctor in the previous incarnation's clothes.
Yeah. And
And like when we talked about Time in the Ronnie last week
right.
or last time, that to see Sylvester McCoy fumbling around in Colin Baker's clothes. So it was pretty cool to kind of see that for just this little mini episode before things really take off in the
And
Christmas invasion.
one of the things that I never get tired of
Yeah.
is the Doctor going through a checklist of his new body.
Yes.
Not ginger.
Right. Yeah, he's very
and
disappointed that he's not ginger.
yes, and the sideburns and big hair.
Yeah.
Oh, big
Yeah.
hair, and
Yep. Like
oh, that's different.
New teeth. That's weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he's all excited about that. He's like slimmer, and then he has a mole. He's like, "Ooh, love the mole."
Yes.
And like, yeah, feeling the mole. And and then Rose, understandably, because she's obviously never seen regeneration before, and apparently the Ninth Doctor never talked about it with her, is pretty freaked out at this point. And she's just going, "Okay, who the hell are you?"
Yeah, and I do wonder when would be the right time to bring up to your companion, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
you can die permanently, but by
Yeah.
the way, it works out with me.
Right.
So I
Well,
get that she doesn't.
Well, considering the number of times that doctors and companions get in life or death situations, you would think there would be a lot of opportunities to bring this up.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
like as in, just in case I happen to die, don't worry, I'll come back. I'll regenerate in a new body. I'll look different, but it will be me. So just relax, okay? Yeah, it would take all of maybe a couple of minutes to explain.
But think about how many more questions there would then have.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously it makes for a much better episode to have the companion essentially being the audience's gateway character going, well, okay, what's going on here? What just happened?
And I did like the fact that the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, is saying we Time Lords kind of have a cheat against death.
Right.
And so I was, I liked seeing that. Did make me want to go watch a couple more Chris Eccleston episodes. Yeah.
Although I have to say it's not exactly Rose's brightest moment when she actually hears the Ninth Doctor saying, well, it means I'm going to change.
Yes.
Right before he regenerates.
Yes.
And then he changes, he regenerates, a new guy in the old guy's clothes. And Rose still, at this point, can't quite get it in her head that, oh, this is the same guy. Like, she just saw him change right in front of her. Yeah. And, she can't quite put two and two together here. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm picturing that it's kind of this shock and this
we'll
it's
kind
of like
shock,
seeing a magic trick going, okay, because you have seen some I went to see Piff the Magic Dragon on Friday night, and some of the stuff he did, you're like, okay, that's impossible. You can't do that. And so I'm sure she's doing that, but yes, it in a general terms, and in fact, wait, I'll hold that comment because I'm sure this is one of the topics you want to discuss.
No, that's all right. We'll get into that because we'll get into the heavy stuff in the main discussion of the Christmas invasion. But as far as the mini episode, the Doctor's trying to reassure Rose that, like, hey, we met here. My first word I said to you was run. So he obviously knows her. Yes. He's not suffering from post-regenerative amnesia at this point.
Right.
And she's still not really, trusting him. So
And
she's just very skeptical.
I understand that.
Yeah. I just you would think she would be at least more open to the idea more quickly than other people would be, like say Mickey or Jackie.
Well, but she does
Because
say
they don't travel with the Doctor.
She does say I've seen a lot of things.
Right.
So she has said that. So she does have that. She's just worried that he may be, that something bad has happened to the Doctor.
Yeah,
So,
and actually, and it actually does start to go a little wrong because toward the end of this mini episode, he starts suffering a seizure.
Yes.
And he starts expelling energy from his mouth, and he gets all manic.
Mm-hmm.
He starts flipping buttons and whatnot, and then he's with this forced, trying to communicate through this manic expression. He's going, I can't stop myself.
Yeah.
And obviously the cloister bell starts, and Rose is just kind of like, okay, what's the cloister bell?
Yeah.
Now, at this point, I was geeking hard because, hey, the cloister bell's back, yay! And so I knew what it was. But at this point, keep in mind, there's a whole generation of viewers that hadn't seen regeneration before.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is all pretty new to them. So it probably just made things even more interesting.
Absolutely.
And that of course leads us into the Christmas special. So
yeah.
So what did you think? Now you just watched the mini episode. So
yeah.
Did you enjoy it? I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was such a.
Have you not seen that before?
I had seen it before, but I had not seen it in
recently.
Yeah, and just it sets the tone for all modern regenerations.
Right.
The Doctor kind of trying on his body for size, the kind of silliness, and then a little bit confusion. I do think that at first it's funny because he's so in it, and he's so healthy, it appears. And then you kind of take a step backwards to set up the TV show. It's
right.
a little bit of, here's the hand wave. But yeah,
I know. I know. Yeah, and I really kind of wish that there was a special edition cut that kind of stitches this mini episode with Christmas Invasion, because it's really all one story.
It is, and
I would like to see it all in an omnibus version.
I think that's a really good idea. I also how quickly they the Children in Need episodes, the ones we've had, are just all really well done for these mini episodes. I just think this is another one that really sets the tone. It kind of shows what kind of doctor David's going to be. So very good stuff.
And it's a credit to writers like Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat that they could just go right in, tell a quick 7 or 8 minute Doctor Who story, get right out. Yeah. And you feel satisfied. Hey, that was worth my time. It wasn't just, filler.
Right.
As even when we watched, say the Night of the Doctor with Paul McGann, where the 8th Doctor finally gets a regeneration sequence. That was a very, self-contained mini episode that told a story beginning to end, and set things up for the 50th anniversary special.
What's really funny, Charles, is as you were saying that,
yes,
I was Googling, because I never remember the name of that episode, to share that.
Yes.
It is truly.
All you have to do is ask, Jesse.
Yes, I know.
It's in here somewhere.
I think I've never sat down and tried to do my 10 favorite Doctor Who episodes.
Right.
But this would make it. That mini episode would have made it. I think it will make it.
Okay, you mean the Night of the Doctor?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, this little mini episode would make it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking about Born Again. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's get into our main discussion with the Christmas Invasion. Once again, this is written by Russell T Davies, showrunner, directed by James Hawes, and this was the very first Doctor Who Christmas special.
Yes, which
ever.
Which I thought was interesting because, and I had read this during one of our discussions and doing research,
right,
is that in the past, Doctor Who at Christmas, they would kind of show a repeat of a favorite episode, and sometimes they would have people vote on which one you want to see.
Right, because it was very rare that you got repeats back then.
Yeah, and so I think it's really, really cool that they started this new tradition that has become, at least in the Charles Skagg and Jesse Jackson households, part of the Christmas tradition.
Yes.
I mean, watching Doctor Who on Christmas night, it is often the only time my lovely bride and Chris, and now then his fiancée, watch Doctor Who with me, but they do. I mean, they know it's part of Christmas.
Yeah, it's a Christmas tradition. It's a Christmas tradition in our household. Now, Christmas Eve I spend with my parents, my wife Lori and I, and then Christmas morning we open our presents.
Yeah.
So that by the time Christmas Day night, evening rolls around, it's like, well, we're ready to watch some Doctor Who.
Yes.
And it's always a treat, and it's a nice little bonus episode. Now I know in recent years, like they've been trimming the episodes. We've started at 13, now we're down to, then it was 12, now we're down to 10. So it's kind of nice that at least the Christmas specials are still airing. And yes, there will be a 2018 Christmas special with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, so we have that to look forward to. So it's kind of nice. Now in the classic era, in addition to those Christmas repeats, there's only been one real Christmas episode, and that was an episode called The Feast of Stephen, which was part of a 12-part saga called The Daleks' Master Plan back in the William Hartnell era. And this is where, if you've kind of seen this clip on YouTube, there's a clip of William Hartnell wishing everyone, a Merry Christmas to all of you at home. He kind of breaks through that fourth wall, and that's what takes place in this, the Feast of Stephen. And ever since then, though, there hasn't been a Christmas story of Doctor Who until the Christmas Invasion.
Yeah, and one of the things I like, I know not everyone does, but I love that in the Stephen Moffat era, the Christmas specials are very Christmassy.
Right.
This is set at Christmas, but I would not think it, even though you have a Christmas tree of death.
Right. Yeah, which we're going to talk about definitely. Now, there was a kind of a sort of Christmas story in the Eccleston era, The Unquiet Dead, which had, during the Gelth storyline, where you had Charles Dickens, obviously, who wrote The Christmas Carol.
Yes. But
it essentially wasn't. It featured Dickens, but it wasn't really a Christmas story like this story. All right. So, real quick, I want to talk about our guest cast for this episode. Obviously, we have the return of Camille Coduri as Jackie Tyler and Noel Clarke as Mickey Smith.
The more I see Jackie, the more she doesn't irritate me.
She's come to grow on you, huh?
Yes, she is. I know that at times, and this is, I apologize in advance for the cliche of the harpy fishwife, but she is. I find a little bit more. I think have grown. Yes.
Yeah. Well, obviously, she's come a long way since the Eccleston episodes. But we also have the debut here. Well, actually, not the debut. The return of Penelope Wilton as Harriet Jones. Yes, we know who you are. And she's obviously very famous. If you've ever seen the movie Shaun of the Dead, with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, who were also in episodes of Doctor Who. So yeah, quite a number of Shaun of the Dead actors turning up on Doctor Who. She played Simon Pegg's mother, Barbara, who's a very important character in Shaun of the Dead. And if you're a Downton Abbey fan, you obviously know her as Isabel Grey on Downton Abbey. She's very big on major character on that series as well. Sean Gilder, who plays the Sycorax leader. He was a character named Marshall Franklin Ostow on Penny Dreadful, the Showtime series, which also had Billie Piper, and he played a character named Leslie Johns on the UK version of Life on Mars.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool. Anita Bream, who plays Sally, the blonde that ends up getting blood controlled. You might recognize her if you're a fan of Showtime series The Tudors, because she was one of Henry VIII's wives, Jane Seymour.
She was. That's right.
Yep. So that's a little Easter egg there if you're a Tudors fan. My wife Lori is a huge Tudors fan, so this is how I know this.
Okay.
Paul Anderson, in case anybody's wondering. Paul Anderson, who played Jason, who was one of the guys on the roof, he played a major character, Colonel Sebastian Moran, in the Sherlock Holmes movie, Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows, the one with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. So that's where you might recognize him. And he's going to be playing Sir Guy of Gisborne in the upcoming 2008 version of Robin Hood. So if you've seen the trailer for that. So
okay, good.
So yeah, some pretty, as we're get back into the modern era, we get to see a little some relevance to things going on these days.
Yes. All
right. So first topic, and this theme should be pretty obvious. Is that you, Santa Claus? And this obviously is the Doctor, who everyone's questioning, is this the Doctor? And I want to talk about the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, in his very first full episode. So, Jesse, since he's your doctor, I thought you have I'm betting you have lots of thoughts about this.
I just have to say, and I am biased, but everything you see that the Doctor is going to be under this generation, this version of the Doctor, right, you see in this episode. You see his snarkiness. You see his ability to turn on a dime, where right, he's serious. He's funny, serious.
Yes.
Go, leave this planet, and then the leader tries to go behind him, and he just, pushes him off, no second chances.
Yeah, he very casually kills that Sycorax leader.
Yes, very.
Which seems kind of uncharacteristically doctorish.
Yes. He's,
But again, this is after the post-Time War Doctor.
Yes. So I just loved seeing him again. I love something I never get tired of again, Charles, as well as exploring your new body, but also figuring out what clothes you're going to wear and right, all the different wardrobe looks and changes.
So you like the wardrobe scene?
I do.
And there was a lot of Easter eggs in there. There were obviously previous Doctor's outfits, previous companions' outfits. And so that was, if you're into that Easter egg hunt,
yes,
you definitely want to study that scene very, very closely.
Yeah, I need to check that out because I did not Google that and look at it.
Yeah.
So but just so much fun and so I was so happy to see it. My only slight complaint or nitpick is he spends too much of the episode in bed.
Right.
It doesn't seem like
that's kind of my major criticism of this episode, is that he's basically comatose for most of it.
Yeah, and I guess they wanted that dramatic reveal that he would come out and be okay, But it just seemed, and I suppose every regeneration is different, and every transition to a new doctor is different. But it seemed just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's probably it's one of the reasons I knocked off about a point for that, because just you know, it's a new doctor. You want to kind of see him do stuff, and he's out for most of it. I think it was mostly to kind of focus on everybody else.
Yeah.
And like to see how they cope without a doctor around, especially Rose.
Yeah, and I do love the
But again, the show's named Doctor Who, so you want to see Doctor Who.
The dramatic reveal of him coming out and being ready, and the idea when all of a sudden the alien seems to be speaking English, and it's because
I like that reveal.
I like that a lot.
Because it's very subtle.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, hey, there's suddenly the Sycorax are suddenly speaking English, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's like Rose clicks that, oh hey, the TARDIS translation must be working, so the Doctor must be awake.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So.
Which makes me wonder, like, okay, why in some episodes does the translation continue to work even when the Doctor's unconscious?
There you go.
Right? Am I right?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do. And I also love the they're trying to put the sonic screwdriver in his hand.
Yeah.
And then also the trying to figure out the magic word like help. Right. Everything for him to wake up. Yes.
Yeah. And obviously, this is the very beginning of his run. So, like here I think Tennant's still trying to figure out his doctor a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
So he's, it's kind of good because he's kind of like, it almost like seems like Tennant's figuring out his doctor right along with us as we watch it.
Absolutely.
But obviously Tennant hits the ground running, and you'd be a fool not to realize that, because he comes out of the gate very strong when he's awake, that is. And, it's one of those roles that obviously he was born to play, I think.
Part of the there is advantage to being able to binge a series.
Right.
And that is what I did with the Doctor. Thanks to friend of the show, Ken Schaefer, take a drink, giving me the DVDs so that I could just binge through them. I didn't have I don't remember this strong, like, oh, it's a new Doctor, I need to savor it. I'm just going through, okay, yeah, they had told me that the Doctor changes. Oh, he changes. Okay, let me watch. But you, as someone who adores this series and this character, what were your initial thoughts about seeing Tennant taking over? Now, I knew you're okay with it because you've gone through this many times.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've been very blessed, I think, to have, like, there may be doctors that you like more than others, but overall, the actors have been obviously very suited to the roles. Some less more than others. Mostly because of the writing than the actual actor.
Yeah, I've been very unkind about Sylvester McCoy and Colin Baker during our last two episodes, but it is more the writing than it is the actual actors, because when you see them at a convention, or when you watch them during the 50th anniversary special where they're playing themselves and wanting to be in the special, you just fall in love with them.
Oh, in the Five-ish Doctors.
Yeah. So yes, but overall, when you start talking about doctors, and not just the modern doctors, but if we want to stick to the modern doctors just for the sake of it, they have hit a home run every time they've cast and done.
Right.
Of course, I'm biased.
And everything I've seen so far of Jodie Whittaker in trailers and whatnot, I'm sold already.
I am sold so much. She may.
I think she's going to be just fine, everybody.
Yeah, I do too. I think, in fact, she may inch ahead to me just the few scenes I've seen her and how she handles it.
Yeah.
Oh, just really, really good.
It for me, I know we're getting off topic here a little bit,
well,
but
as we tend to do.
Yeah, go figure. But real quick, that I just feel that like she talks like Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor, but she kind of acts like Matt Smith's 11th Doctor, at least from what I can see so far.
Yes.
And I think that's going to work just well.
Yeah, I think so too.
Fine. So yeah. I think we'll be just fine. All right, so let's get back to this episode.
Yes, okay.
Now, real quick before we move on, I did want to talk about the scene at the end where the Sycorax leader chops off the Doctor's hand, because obviously that's very important later on in his era, especially during the Stolen Earth and Journey's End episodes, that the Doctor is able to regenerate his hand, which is something we'd never seen before, as long as it's within a certain time period after his regeneration, that he still has enough energy to do that.
Now,
so that was something very new to Doctor Who mythos.
Part of me thought that was a little bit cheesy.
A little convenient.
Yes, but I did love the way they said, he goes,
a little cheap shock value.
Yeah, well, I know what I am.
Yeah.
I'm a lucky man,
Yeah.
But
and he does have a good line where he talks about like, this hand, it's a fighting hand.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Tennant sells that scene perfectly.
He really does.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So anything else about the 10th Doctor before we move on?
Nope.
All right. Second topic. Rocking around the Christmas tree. So, and this is obviously Rose, Mickey, and Jackie I want to talk about here, especially Jackie with that Christmas tree.
Yes.
So which is why I chose that title. And I want to get your thoughts. Rose, obviously trying to cope and having a very hard time with it with the new Doctor. Mickey just coping with Rose's return and not caring so much about the Doctor at this point. And Jackie just kind of wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
So I want to get your thoughts on these three characters here. Because they're essentially left to kind of take care of the Doctor and try to nurse him back to functionality once again.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the kind of the interaction between them. Jackie's very happy that Rose is back, but she can't resist. They have a very, at times, difficult mother-daughter relationship where they are on, they have patterns of her complaining about Rose and giving her hard times, and Rose rolling her eyes at her mom. So it was good to see, no matter how long she's been gone, Jackie can't stop her from becoming into that role. It's just out of nature, out of habit. That's what she's done. Yeah. But it's also very clear there's true love and affection there. And even between,
I think there's some progress.
Yes, I do.
If you compare it to like the early Eccleston episodes,
yes,
when we're introduced to Jackie, they have a less contentious relationship, but it's not quite where it needs to be yet.
And I also love the Jackie's relationship with the Doctor.
Yeah.
She kind of worries that he's hurting her daughter.
Right.
At the same time, she sees how much she enjoys hanging with the Doctor.
It seems like she's not as critical, especially by the end of this episode.
Yes.
I mean, she'll still kind of tease Rose about it. She'll say like, I think you're mad, the lot of you, or the pair of you. But she is grudgingly more accepting of Rose traveling with the Doctor. I think.
I agree.
Than she used to be at this point.
Very good.
So, all right.
And
so
I like Mickey. I think
Yeah.
when you see in this episode just the hint of what he later becomes.
right.
We see with him and Martha being, freedom fighters together and this other stuff. You see he has that potential that he's fighting it or struggling with it a little bit, but it's certainly there.
Yeah, he's certainly not the scaredy cat that he was in Rose.
Yes.
Yeah. He's obviously grown a bit. He's still clinging to the hope that he and Rose can get back together at this point.
Absolutely.
But he does seem more of his own man than he used to be. And he's willing to he makes a point of trying to protect Rose and Jackie from the spinning Christmas tree of death.
Yes.
And to the point where Jackie has to urge him to come on. So, which is something I don't think he would have done back in at the beginning with Rose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I didn't, when I'm first watching, Rose was just a companion. Mm-hmm. I had no idea the rich history of companions.
Right.
The different way that you're being, there's a whole litany of companions that you're held against to.
Right.
And discussed. And I definitely see the strength of Rose as a companion. Right. And the reason why people love her and respect her so much, because she's really, there is that burden of being the first companion of the modern era and the first modern companion that has to change doctors.
Yes.
And how to handle that.
Right. Because obviously, again, this is a whole generation of viewers that hadn't seen it to this point.
So I think we, as you said, I think we've been blessed that she did a great job of setting up all future modern companions with not a template that they had to follow, as in they can't make their own unique choices as an actor or actress, but she set a good standard of I know what a good companion could look like, and I can build from that.
Right. And obviously, I was a big fan of that Christmas tree sequence. I thought it was very cool.
Oh, very cool.
It's kind of comical, but I think just the way it's executed is it's so fun to watch. And there's this iconic line from Jackie that I want to mention during our quote section that I really love during that sequence. And I think it was really good to kind of I like Jackie's interactions with the 10th Doctor. That there's this exchange where both the Doctor and Jackie are talking so fast. Like, she's asking him all these questions.
Yes.
What can I do for you? Do you need vitamin E, vitamin D, whatever? And he's just barraging him with questions, and I'm just amazed at Camille Coduri pulling off that scene.
Yeah, really well done.
Yeah. It was just really impressive to me. And obviously Jackie's tea is what helps bring the Doctor out of his coma, and because he just needed a bit of tannin.
Exactly.
Yeah, some tannin and free radicals. So, to get back on track as I sit here with my cup of tea, and my good cup of tea, excuse me. And I just really enjoyed that. So, anything else about Mickey, Jackie, or Rose you want to talk about?
Good stuff.
All right.
Very good to see it.
Okay, move on. Third topic. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Yes.
And this is Harriet Jones and the Sycorax, which, if you can guess what happens at the end of the episode with the Sycorax, you probably guess why I chose that particular segment title. although it's more like let it ash, let it ash, let it ash. And Harriet Jones kind of flips to the dark side a little bit at the end of the episode. And I want to get your thoughts on Harriet Jones. Yes, we know who you are. And the Sycorax, one of, I think, the more impressive Doctor Who aliens introduced in the modern era that really needs to come back, in my opinion. We
Yeah.
need to see the Sycorax again. It's amazing we haven't seen them again.
Yeah, I thought it was really nice. I really
Because last time we'd seen Harriet Jones, we saw her in the Eccleston's two-parter Aliens of London World War III, and where she was just an MP, and she's all the way moved up to Prime Minister, and so she's obviously come a long way since then.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on Harriet Jones this episode?
So I remembered that what happens at the end.
Right.
And I remember as I was watching this episode, I love the fact that if I had not known that twist was happening,
right,
I would not have seen it happening. Because
you think it would have been completely out of character for her.
Yeah, I mean, she seems so happy to see the Doctor.
Right.
And she seems so glad that he's here. And he seems so happy to see her.
Right.
And when
and everybody's getting along and happy and like, hey, we defeated the Sycorax, it's all good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Harriet decides, well, they could end up telling people. We need to kind of send a message here.
Yeah, it's
and the Doctor obviously not a fan of her decision. So what did you think of Harriet's decision? Do you agree with it?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't, because I think there are times when they tell when you're working, when they talk about finding coming upon an animal in the wild,
right,
you should not make any threatening moves, or you should not bring attention to yourself. And by having this Torchwood, confiscated weapon, I think you are putting a big banner out, not stay away from us, but, we're here and we're possibly dangerous.
Right.
So I think it was a very dumb decision, not just because the Doctor doesn't agree with it, but I just think it wasn't the risk had moved. You were shooting someone in the back.
I don't think it was necessary. I agree.
Yeah.
But I could kind of see where she's coming from in the sense that, like, well, hey, we have all these aliens showing up, and the Doctor isn't always around to defeat them. So we kind of need to make a statement like, hey, we can protect ourselves.
Yeah.
But by that same token, it is kind of, I agree, it is kind of shooting the enemy in the back as they're walking away. And, so, and the Doctor, like, the Sycorax were essentially defeated. They're basically running with their tails between their legs at this point.
Yeah.
And, it just seems like, just a very harsh reaction to this. And the Doctor essentially realizes that, maybe Harriet Jones isn't the person that should be leading the UK at this moment in time. So he actually takes active steps to remove her from office by just planning a suggestion of, like, don't you think she looks tired?
Yes, that is one of my quotes.
Yeah.
Because I love, and then at the end of the episode, you see that she's trying to, no, I'm fine. And the more she defends herself, the more out of control she looks, and the less confident you could see people doing.
Yeah.
And
I keep hoping that the 10th Doctor will somehow go to Washington D.C. and start whispering.
Whoa, yes.
Whispering, yeah. Don't you think he looks tired? To some very important people.
Yes, I really thought it was interesting because that showed at time the how strong-willed and how difficult this doctor could be.
Right.
There is...
He seems like he has a very strong moral stance.
Yes, absolutely.
And, yeah, he's not afraid to, like, call people out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what you want from your doctor. You don't want... He's essentially the type to stand up to authority. Yeah. And Harriet Jones is the authority here. And when she's doing something that probably isn't in the best interest of her people or the planet Earth, mm-hmm. and the doctor's not afraid to express his thoughts on that, mm-hmm. or to make a move to remove her from power in the process. So that was interesting.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Sycorax. Now, the Sycorax essentially come up with this plan to use blood control. Ooh, blood control. Love blood control. To kind of essentially intimidate the Earth.
Yeah. And
what was your thoughts on their plan for one? And that whole sequence where we have hundreds of people with A positive blood climbing up to the roof about to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Forced to suicide, I should say.
That was a really cool special effect.
Yeah.
Everyone going, wow, what's going on? So yeah,
there was a nice little bit of horror in the sense that like you've got all these mothers and kids wondering why their dads or whatever are going up to the roof and seem to be mind controlled helplessly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I thought that was really effective. And they made a point of showing that was affecting everybody across the globe, not just the UK.
Yeah, and they talked about the royal family are all on the roof because
right.
we assume that they all have the same blood type.
Right, and remember they're werewolves, so yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Remember? Yeah. Well, yes. that comes a little later, but yeah, yes. They're werewolves. They're werewolves. No. Mm-hmm. All right. So, anything else about the Sycorax? Oh, one thing I did want to mention. There's a cool little Easter egg that with the Sycorax when they kind of first appear on screen and there's like four of them in a diamond shape image. Mm-hmm. Their foreheads are kind of positioned that way. That's a nod, obviously, to Queen and the video Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yeah, nice. Very nice.
That's a deliberate nod to that, so I thought that was pretty cool as a Queen fan.
Yeah, one of the things that another nice point was when they're taking. Oh, it's a helmet. Maybe they don't look so. Oh, yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah.
That was a nice little moment.
Yeah. Maybe they're human. Oh no, they're not human.
No,
that was good. All right. Anything else about the Christmas special before we go into favorite lines?
Nope. Good stuff.
All right, so Jesse, since I think I took one of your lines, but if you want to go ahead, why don't you go ahead first?
Okay.
Yeah.
I want it to be Ginger. I've never been Ginger, but you, Rose Tyler, fat lot of good you were. You gave up on me. Ooh, that's rude. Is that all I am now? Rude and not Ginger?
Yeah, that's a major quote right there.
Yes.
Obviously, one of my favorites was from Jackie that I talked about earlier, where she goes, "I'm gonna get killed by a Christmas tree." She's all screaming, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. The other one that I love from Jackie is the doctor says, "I need you to shut up," and Jackie goes, "Ooh, he hasn't changed that much, has he?"
Yeah, exactly. That was good. Another one I liked was from the 10th Doctor, where he's talking to the Sycorax, mm-hmm. and he's going, "Look at these people, these human beings. Consider their potential. From the day they arrive on the planet, blinking, step into the sun, there is more to see that can ever be seen, more to do." No, hold on. Sorry. That's the Lion King.
Yes,
But the point still stands.
that was on my list too. Yeah, really nicely done.
Yeah, that was good. So nice little nod to the Lion King from
Mm-hmm.
Disney. What's your you got another quote?
Nope, I am good. Go for it.
Oh, you're good. All right, I got two more then. Real quick. The doctor is also again talking to the Sycorax leader. He's going, "See, that's the thing. I'm the doctor, but beyond that, I just don't know. I literally do not know who I am. It's all untested. Am I funny? Am I sarcastic? Sexy? Right,
Yeah.
old misery, life and soul, right-handed, left-handed, a gambler, a fighter, a coward, a traitor, a liar, a nervous wreck? I mean, judging by the evidence, I've certainly got a gob."
Yeah.
Which means a big mouth. So yeah,
Yes.
mouth. Yeah. So I like that a lot. And then I like an exchange between Jackie and the doctor, where she says, "Well, I reckon you're mad, the pair of you. It's like you go looking for trouble." And the doctor replies, "Trouble's just the bits in between. It's all waiting out there, Jackie, and it's brand new to me. All those planets and creatures and horizons, I haven't seen them yet, not with these eyes. And it is going to be fantastic."
I saw that and I smiled because
A nice little nod to the Ninth Doctor.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah, I like that
I
a lot.
thought it was great.
All right. So what's your rating for this episode?
I give it 9 out of 10 cups of tea.
I was going to go with good cups of tea, but that's all right. That was my second backup. My first choice, though, was I was going to give it 8.5. I knocked it off for obviously a point for the doctor being comatose for most of it. 8.5 spinning Christmas trees.
I thought about that, and I figured, I bet Charles will pick spinning Christmas trees.
You're absolutely right.
Yes.
You know me so well.
Yes.
All right. So do you happen to have a well, you probably don't have a reverse the polarity segment.
No.
I guess. All right. So real quick, reverse the polarity. We're going to go back to 1970 this time with one of Jesse's favorite stories, Spearhead from Space.
Yes.
The first serial from season 7, written by Robert Holmes, which is John Pertwee's first episode as the Third Doctor. And this is what helped make Jesse a Third Doctor fan, I think.
Yes.
A John Pertwee fan. After being forced to regenerate, so it's a regeneration episode, by the Time Lords, the Third Doctor collapses outside his TARDIS, kind of just like Tennant does at the beginning of the Christmas invasion, and is taken to Ashbridge Cottage in Epping, where his unusual anatomy confounds doctors. Meanwhile, a meteorite shower falls on the English countryside, and a poacher discovers a mysterious plastic polyhedron at the crash site. Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart of UNIT, so we have UNIT, just kind of like we had UNIT in this episode. And and as a side note, I love the fact that UNIT is now based in the Tower of London these days. Having visited the Tower of London. So it's like, hey, I've visited UNIT headquarters. How cool is that? So Brigadier tries to recruit Dr. Liz Shaw as a scientific advisor to examine the meteorites for evidence of aliens. It turns out the plastic polyhedron is a power unit for a non-physical alien intelligence known as the Nestine consciousness. Normally disembodied, the Nestines are able to make human replicas called autons from plastic. So taking over a plastics factory, the Nestines plan to replace the key government and public figures with auton duplicates.
Ah, okay.
It's the appearance of the autons, by the way. The auton in charge of the factory sends other less human-looking dummy-like autons, which kind of, that kind of artificial plastic face reminds me of the robot Santas that are featured in Christmas Invasion. So they to retrieve the power units from UNIT and the poacher. After waking and falling unconscious again while in hospital, so kind of like the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, the Third Doctor recovers and avoids being kidnapped by the autons. Stealing some clothes and an antique jalopy, he travels to UNIT HQ and discovers his TARDIS has been disabled by the Time Lords, effectively exiling him on Earth. Despite his most recent change in appearance, he convinces Lethbridge Stewart that he is the same man, kind of like how the Doctor keeps reassuring people that he's the same man, especially Rose, and who helped defeat the Yeti and the Cybermen. Together with Liz, he uncovers the Nestine plot just as the Autons activate across Britain and begin killing people. The Doctor assembles an electroshock device to disable them, and Unit attacks the plastic factory, but the Autons are impervious to gunfire. Inside, the Doctor and Liz encountered a tentacled plastic host created by the Nestines as the perfect form for the invasion. While the Doctor struggles with the creature, Liz uses the electroshock device to shut the creature down, the effect cascading to all the other Autons. Later, the Brigadier is concerned that the Nestines will return and ask for the Doctor's continued help, floating the offer to let him work on a way to repair the TARDIS, while also helping Unit to stop future alien invasions. The Doctor agrees with several conditions, including the services of Liz. The Brigadier goes to prepare the paperwork, but stops, realizing he doesn't know the Doctor's name. Smith, says the Doctor with a smile. Dr. John Smith.
Yeah, by the way, I love...
When Alias was born.
Yes, I such a great episode. Such a true classic episode. I loved when we watched this. I love that when Stephen Moffat, during the 50th anniversary, I especially loved all the little mini, they did the 30-minute episode talking about that specific Doctor, and then they showed a classic episode on BBC America. And Stephen Moffat explaining how much heavy lifting that the third Doctor had to do, and how they made it almost a new show. Because of it being in color, being set on Earth and everything.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
It is, and such a great episode. Good choice. Very good choice.
Yep. And again, some parallels to the Christmas Invasion.
Absolutely.
Now, before we get into our mail, what little we have of it, Series 11 got a little bit of news that the second episode of Series 11 is titled The Ghost Monument. And this is also written by Chris Chibnall, who's writing the very first episode of the season, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. So right off the bat, we're getting 2 Chibnall episodes.
Good.
So, and I like the title, The Ghost Monument. It's very Doctor Who-ish, so I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, because our editor Rob has not quite posted our episode still, I guess I'm going to have to yell at him again.
I just sent him an email while we were talking saying, hey, just a reminder.
Rob!
We love you, Rob, but yes.
Come on. So so we didn't get much in the way of mail, but we do have one letter this time from Holly Mack.
I do, and I have it here.
Okay, you want to read Holly Mack?
Yeah,
go ahead.
What's funny is she...
You always like to read Holly's emails.
I do. Yesterday, she sent me a Facebook Messenger going, hey, have I missed an episode? I've subscribed. And I said, no, there's been a delay. We are talking the Christmas Invasion tomorrow. And so she goes, oh, okay. Hi, Charles and Jesse.
Yeah.
The first Christmas special of New Who. We have Rose getting used to a new regeneration of the Doctor, even though he really isn't a man of action until the very end. The henchmen for the Syrac, I can't talk. Sycorax, were quite interesting, taking the form of band playing Santas and a killing, whirling Christmas tree. Though I really don't want to know what those pilot fishes would look like without the disguises.
I want to know.
Harriet Jones makes a return appearance, and Quasi burns a bridge with the Doctor with her handling of the Sycorax invasion at the end.
But she does redeem herself in Journey's End, or in the Stolen Earth, excuse me. Yes. So, yeah.
The Doctor knows his Disney musicals with quoting The Lion King. He also has a pretty mean aim with a Satsuma to take out the lead Sycorax.
There's always one Satsuma.
Yes. And we also know more about the abilities of Time Lord regenerations and the losing of body parts. All in all, a good Christmas episode. All of the Christmas specials are unique in their own way, and I have been able to enjoy each of them for what they are. Looking forward to your thoughts on this episode, and looking forward to Season 11, Holly from Wisconsin.
Yay! Thank you, Holly.
Yes.
And thanks for getting us an email so we didn't have to go without email this week.
Yes, absolutely.
Rob.
Yes.
All right. So next time on Next Stop Everywhere. Well, first I should say, if you want to be like Holly, and provided that Rob posts our episode of the Christmas Invasion in time, if you want to drop us a line, let us know your thoughts. Why don't you drop us a line like Holly did on nextstopeverywhere.smg@gmail.com. Don't forget the SMG. And then otherwise, you can reach us on the Twitter at nextstopsmg. Or you can reach us on Facebook at Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Just let us know what you're enjoying Doctor Who these days, or what your thoughts are on the upcoming Series 11. We'd be more than happy to discuss that and read those here on the podcast. And I'm sure Jesse would love to hear those as well.
I would.
And so please do that. Otherwise, Jesse, where can they reach you on the interwebs?
They also, I did want to say that we got a few people that liked our Next Stop Everywhere Facebook page.
Yes,
our likes went up, and so we appreciate that.
And we definitely appreciate, everybody liking that. That's awesome. And the more the merrier. So let's keep that going, everybody. If you're not already liking us, come on, throw us a bone. We know you're on Facebook, so.
Yeah, we're up to 235 likes, so
nice.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody.
I can be reached at Jesse Jackson DFW.
Right.
We have I am on Facebook as well, Jesse Jackson in Louisville, Texas. You can hear me talk about Bruce Springsteen, which, by the way, happy on this recording is Bruce Springsteen's 69th birthday. So happy birthday to the boss.
Yep. Collecting that art money.
Yes, indeed. So he is. So you can hear me talk about, and
yes,
there was a recent 3-year anniversary of Set Listing Bruce, and Charles was kind enough to send a very lovely tribute to it.
Cheers to Set Listing Bruce, everybody.
Yes, absolutely. And Charles, how about you? Where can they hear more from you? And I believe there is a certain blog that you can find all kinds of geeky things on.
That's very possible. So if you want to reach me, everybody, you can reach me at Charles Skaggs on Twitter and Instagram. At Charles Skaggs there. Or you can reach me Google Plus for you crazy kids on the Google Plus. Shout out to Karen. Or Facebook at Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. And the aforementioned blog of geeky things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about Doctor Who and Next Stop Everywhere and Torchwood and anything else related to Doctor Who, or comic books, sci-fi news, all kinds of news about upcoming movies and all the DC Universe stuff, and also news of my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media, including the Phantom Zone podcast I do with Karen Lindsay, and hopefully we'll be getting that back on track, hopefully before the next millennium, fingers crossed. And Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zansprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, etc. Or Titan Talk, the Titans podcast that I do with you, Jesse, where we discuss the upcoming DC Universe digital series Titans, which, premieres the exact same week Doctor Who premieres. So
yes, Charles and I will be a little busy.
Yes, we will. So we're going to be both Next Stop Everywhere and Titan Talk are going to be switching to a weekly basis very shortly. So stay tuned for that as we review episodes on a weekly basis. And then hopefully that here in the near future, as we talk about next time on Next Step Everywhere, hopefully Karen Lindsay will be joining us to discuss The Woman Who Fell to Earth, the very first episode of Series 11, just in 2 weeks, guys. Yeah. So the scheduling worked out brilliantly for this, to get through all the Regeneration episodes, and then we got to Jodie Whittaker's first episode. So I'm very happy that worked out the way it did.
Yes,
And
very much.
So in 2 weeks, and be sure to look for some changes to Next Stop Everywhere, which I'm going to tease but not reveal because hopefully everybody likes the surprise.
Absolutely.
So hopefully, new companion in the TARDIS to join Jesse and me, and hopefully some new changes as well. I'm going to work really hard to try to get Rob to get things all synced up nicely. Fingers
Yes.
crossed. Wish me luck, and wish us luck, I should say. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are, Jesse.
Oh, I am so excited. There's so much awesomeness to discuss, and
Yes.
I am just
Brand new Doctor Who for 10 weeks. Yay!
Yes. And in
long
fact,
last.
I am
Yes.
so excited that our closing quote
Yeah.
is, sometimes I see things need fixing,
Mm-hmm.
do what I can.
Right. Very nice. Very appropriate.
Yes.
Yes. So, everybody, thank you again for listening to Next Stop Everywhere. Come on back for episode 119, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. It's going to be good, and big changes are in store. So, I hope everybody likes it, and we'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.